Welcome to Enjoy Fort Wayne. This episode is brought to you by the Wailanai Farmers Market and highlights the 350 vendors that make up the #1 market in the state of Indiana.
I am Zach. I am the bread guy, and I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, we've talked about doing this for a while. Your personality, along with mine, it just jives. I don't know. We're just two weird dudes.
I just have too much fun.
Yeah, so I love it. But I'm interested to hear more about your story, as are a lot of people. You have a lot of fans, and so I'm excited to kind of get into it. So, all right, you are the bread guy. Are you from Fort Wayne originally?
No, I was born in Lafayette, and then high school in Muncie, and then I lived in Indy and down to Evansville, and then up to Fort Wayne proper, and now I'm in Markle.
Gotcha.
General Motors Gypsy, all over the place.
Yeah. So you worked at GM, and you liked to eat bread, so you just made it. Is that the story? How did that?
More or less. My mom made a sourdough when I was growing up. It was more like an Amish friendship bread. And I was like, hey, Mom, I've been craving this, and I'm just feeling frisky here. So can I just get the recipe from
Show me
you?
how to make it or whatever. Oh, okay.
Well, I lost the recipe so long. I don't know. I just remember it had these couple of ingredients in it. And you're going to have to figure it out. So I embarked on that journey.
Wow.
Me.
So without fully knowing,
pretty much,
right? You're just like, well, let me.
I mean, the interwebs is a large, glorious hole.
Yeah. So did you have it okay, I assume, now tell me if I'm wrong here. Here's what you did. A lot of trial and error. You got it to where the point where you're like, oh my gosh, this is a lot like Mom's. You had her try it to see, and she said it was good. I'm just throwing it out there. Is that what happened?
Sort of. More or less, though, she realized, wait a minute, I think I got that out of a Taste of Home. So that made it a lot easier to dial that in a little bit.
Gotcha.
Of course, Taste of Home had a lot of different options. But once I got that smell, I knew I had it. I didn't even need to taste it. I knew I had that by the smell alone.
That's awesome.
Nostalgia.
So you were just like excited, like ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, you made it for yourself. You're like, okay. And then at what point was it a money-making venture?
Almost immediately, really.
That's crazy.
It's like I made it, and I took it into work. People enjoyed it. And then I did that a couple more times, almost back to back, because I'm kind of obsessive in nature sometimes. And when I really start enjoying something, I just do it a whole lot of times over and over again. So I started making it and taking it, and then people are like, hey, can I just buy a loaf of it? How much would you charge me for a loaf of that? And I charged them like $4 or $5 at the time. I think it was like $4, you know, cheap way back then in the day.
Yeah. What year was this?
This would have been 2013, something like that. I honestly, I couldn't bake or cook to save my life. I swear I burnt water. You know, I had a rare gift.
Too much milk and cereal, burnt toast, right?
In the water, just the straight water alone.
Yeah.
But it turns out I'm actually decent at baking, and it's not a total loss to me that I was able to do it. I took 2 semesters of college before I realized I've always wanted to own my own business. And then I realized I didn't need to have a sheepskin to prove to myself that I could do it. But I took a single baking class, very basic class, in 2008 or 9. And it was to the point that the teacher would take and put her bottom 2 or 3 people in the class with me when we were pairing off, just so that I could help them get things figured out.
Yeah.
But it never put 2 and 2 together. I never went home and baked anything. It never registered to me as an option. And then I did that, I made that loaf. And
when you thought owning a business, you didn't necessarily think even at that time, like, oh, this will be the business then that I can start.
Yeah, we actually wanted to open a restaurant where my wife was going to be the head chef, because she can cook wonders. I always say I used to have an 8-pack You could have washed your clothes on these bad boys. Now I got a mini character that's only brewing. It's because that woman can cook. And the bread plays a pretty good part in it too. But that woman can cook. No, no, gentlemen, you can't have her. She's mine. But so that was the original game plan, and then things just never really panned out. And it's like she had her teaching job, I had GM. We were both making decent money, and so it just kind of fell on the wayside. And I just was getting more and more dissatisfied with the factory life. I was very good at it, but I just did not enjoy it, appreciate it. I knew that I was wasting myself there. And then I figured out that I could bake, and it was just off to the races from there.
What's your process of when you're going to do a new item? Do you just think, oh, I think it'd be cool to do this? Or I'm thinking of my favorite items like a croissant. I wouldn't assume on day one you did croissants, but you certainly have them now. How do you go through, like, I think I want to do that, or how does that work?
I see a video or I see something online like, well, that looks neat, or that looks good, or that's an interesting concept, and I give it a shot. Or if it's a new flavor kind of thing, it's more along the lines of yell over my shoulder at Hillary, hey, how does onions and leeks in a bread with like a cheese topping or something sound? Amazing. All right, we're going to do that. And then we throw it out there. We do one small test batch, make sure that it's not going to completely go upside down.
Yeah.
And then I will
bulk. Then
throw out 30 loaves of them and just see what happens.
So then how long, okay, let's walk down the timeline here of the bread guy. So you make a few loaves or make a few items to bring into work. People go just crazy for it. Mm-hmm. You decide, like, okay, I'm going to start making more, not just for when I take into work, but I'm going to make this a thing. At what point did it go from there to now you legit have a place where, okay, because you were doing it from home, I assume, at the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
So then what happens where you're like, well, I don't have enough here at the house, right?
Like enough space?
Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty much I was running at maximum capacity. And then some friends of mine that own a barbecue joint, Master's Hand Barbecue, they've been out the market for a little while now. They were friends of mine at a church that I'd gone to with them at the time. And he knew that I was interested in getting started in this. This was, let's see here. First, I took that class, and then almost immediately I picked up a dough sheeter. Was the very first large purchase, big 30-inch. Like, it's the exact same thing that you see in like Cake Boss and all those.
Yep.
It's the exact same machine that they use in those.
People say I look like Cake Boss.
Yeah, I bet you eat a lot like Cake Boss does too. Me too. But I can't quite pull off the Cake Boss thing. Bread Boss maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
But no, so I started making I made the rounds out to King Arthur Flour there in Vermont. They gave me that 3-day class, and I came back and Master Sand Barbecue almost immediately after my purchasing the sheeter said, hey, I've got this Blodgett oven, and it's just like a 3-rack full-size sheet tray oven, which, I mean, this thing is yay big and yay tall. It's huge for a home. Now it's a small oven to me, but
yeah,
he gave it to me on the cheap. It's just like, hey, you're wanting to open a business. I want to be able to help you, and I've got this. It's serving more like a table for me because I just never got the use out of it. So here you go. And he sold it to me for far more cheaply than he really should have. But bless that man's heart, he helped me get off the ground with just that one small gesture. And I immediately was churning out croissants and loaves out of this little oven at home. Well, then I had found the event hall in town. And so this was like, 3 weeks later, 3 weeks later,
Man, this is quick.
it was very fast. 3 weeks later, I had already been increasing significantly my output to GM, and then on top of that, was now I had the facility in hand, and it was just one thing after another. Past that point, I got a SBA loan. It's a fairly small one, just enough to pay the mortgage, and get just a couple pieces of equipment, just the bare bones essentials.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I fully self-funded just based on what I made at GM. I squirreled all that away. I didn't spend a penny
Yeah.
on anything else that I managed to pull out of GM. And it all went in. And we have effectively doubled our income every single year, with the exception of 2020, in which we actually tripled.
Wow.
But otherwise, it's like, just, we kept our eyes open. We seized the opportunities every single time we could. I had some wild flops, and then I've also had some wild successes. And here we are now, an overnight success, 7 years in the making.
Man, that is wild. That's not the normal. I mean, every week, every single show that we do is something. There's some form of like wow factor that, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. Every week I say that, and I'm just starting to catch on that I'm doing that, but that truly is amazing. So why would you say, at the Wild and I Farmers Market, what is it about that market that you're like, yeah, that's something that I want to be a part of?
I mean, just the overall demeanor of everybody. I'd been at farmers markets where it was all business, right? And it was just short of cutthroat. Just, you follow the rules, you do what they say, and it's like, it just almost feeds down to where they treat you like that, you treat everyone else like that, everyone else treats everyone else, and it's just this cascade. Whereas the culture at the Wild and I market is just the exact opposite. It's like, Wild and I facilitates, but then they stay hands off. They listen to any inputs that you have, but they're not constantly trying to be like, hey, you need to take and cut this down like an extra quarter inch because you're just barely going over or over under this, that,
Yeah.
or you're not doing X, Y, or Z. And did you get this extra form filled out? That's just totally meaningless. Like, it's just so laid back that they keep the community grounded, while at the same time allowing the community to do what the community needs to do. Because, I mean, we're a bunch of businesses that are all coming together to sell, and Wild and I just perfectly enables us to be able to do so.
Yeah.
In a group effort that just further balloons and feeds everybody on a whole. One person's success is everybody's success out there.
Yep. I will say, what's good for you is good for me, and what's good for me is good for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, yeah, well said. Shout out definitely always to Ashley, who spearheads the efforts that you're talking about, that just makes everything so easy to navigate. And then when you're there, everyone's a family. Every week I feel like there's someone who asks me real quick to watch their booth. They got to go to the bathroom real quick or something. Or like every week I hear a story of someone having to bring their kid, and they mention on the forum on Facebook, and then someone says, oh, don't worry, blah blah blah,
gotcha.
or yeah, and like this, or if someone needs help, it's like, it's just a foregone conclusion, like, oh, don't worry, like,
right,
yeah, we'll take care of it.
Oh, you ran out of bags? Here's a fistful of bags. Need another ream of it? Here you go.
Yeah.
You ran out of ones and quarters and fives and all the bills. You have no money? Oh, here you go.
It's cool to see the vendors at the market take care of each other, and I think it's a direct correlation to Ashley, who she is, and her servant's heart. So very cool. Tell us about, I want to hear a story that may come right to the top of mind, where you thought maybe this wouldn't work, Was there a time frame that you can look back and say, boy, I'm really glad that I pushed through, because for a minute there, it was tough sledding?
I would have to say probably the closest I ever came to that point. Now, I don't want to say that I ever truly come to the point where I'm like, this is a wash, this is done, I'm just up the creek without a paddle. I've never felt that way personally, completely. My wife has many times. Pretty much every time it starts to hit a rainy day, then she's like, "Nope, it's over." And like, "Oh man, glad that's done. We're fine, swell, and dandy." And she's going to hate me for saying that, but she knows it's true. Love you, Pookie. But she or we, I would say it was probably the loss of my very first wholesale account, and it was absolutely my fault. I was taking care of this pub, and I had made a special bun for them, but then for some reason I had it in my head that this bun needed to be softer. Well, he like more of a traditional bun, because the bun that I had was a very sturdy bun, which in retrospect
Like
is
me?
perfect. Well, we're all a little sturdy in our own rights.
Yeah.
Um, so he basically dumped me because of the inconsistency, because I'm sitting here trying to churn out this new bun that was not working. It was too soft. It was collapsing on itself. He was having issues, and then he put this real juicy burger on it, and then just turned into a super soppy, soggy mess.
Oh man, that's not
And
fun.
no, it wasn't. And didn't. I didn't ask permission. I didn't say anything. I was like, I had it in my head I was going to do this, and then just almost immediately, he was just like, "Yeah, I'm. This just isn't going to work. So, this is going to be our final week, and we're just going to have to pull the plug on this." And like that ripped my heart out, and I was mad. And like, this is totally my fault. I screwed up so badly, and I beat myself up for it, absolutely. But then I pulled myself out, and strength of God right there to help me see what I'd done. And like, I knew exactly what I'd done, where I'd gone wrong, because he didn't tell me why, but
But you
I
kinda
knew.
knew.
Not kinda, it was 100%. I
When it's that bad.
I knew what I'd done.
Yeah.
I just need to go sit in the corner like a bad little dunce cap boy, because I knew what I did.
Not a great feeling.
No.
I get it.
So it's
But it
like,
makes you stronger then for later, for
it
next time too.
does. And you have so many of those failures. Failure is just the opportunity to learn. And if you only ever win, eventually your first loss is what's going to break you.
How will you know what it feels like?
Yeah.
How do you know what a good day feels like unless you have a bad day to
gauge it
sandwich
by.
it to and say like, oh, that's what it feels like? No, 100%. So in keeping with that, another piece of advice that I'm looking for entrepreneurs who are looking to get started and just don't know maybe how to get started, or what is something that you would tell them who just say, well, I want to do this, they have the idea, they have XYZ, but well, I don't know, I'm working this good job and I just I don't know, maybe I just won't do it. What would you tell them?
If they're going to just be that wishy-washy, I'd probably tell them don't do it. If I'm going to be brutally blunt. But because, if someone legitimately wants to do it, but they're looking for a way to justify how to go about doing it, but they know they want to do it, they feel in their heart of hearts that they want to go on this new venture, they just don't know how to go about it, then to that person, I would straight up say, be ready to sacrifice your entire life for the next couple of years. If you are going to be that committed to it and you want it that badly, that first couple of years is going to pass in a flash.
Yeah.
You keep an eye on your mistakes. You keep an eye on your wins.
Document it. Yep.
Document. You track the things that you want to see succeed. And once you get past that point, then you will have hit the point that you can start to fund your life, and then you can quit your day job. And then you're going ahead and sacrifice the next 7 years, because you're going to work even harder as you keep on building it up. And eventually you will find that happy medium where you can start to delegate things out. You can start to get help, get people set in the bus, get the right people there. And then you start to have a successfully matured business that you can just kind of sit back, relax a little bit, and say, hey, this is mine. I'm working for myself. I got these people working for me. But if you just have to be willing to put in the work and effort and take the risks.
Yeah.
And it's not glamorous. It is not the magic pill that people want to hear.
Right.
But it's like everything, that booth that people see every weekend, that is almost a decade in the making. That doesn't happen overnight. So if it's your first week out there, don't look at me and think, man, I want to be that tomorrow.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
No, but it's rewarding. The process is rewarding.
Absolutely.
Probably, I don't know, probably bigger reward than what you felt at GM, if I would just take a guess.
100%. I mean, I was making a ton of money out there, especially for all the mandatory overtime that they would stick on us. And I just, in spite of the money, I couldn't stand the culture out there, the management style. You know, most people quit their job because of their boss.
Yeah, they don't quit the job, they quit the boss.
Yeah. And
Yep.
I absolutely did, because I had a few amazing bosses, and you guys know who you are. I had a few bosses that were just, what are you thinking? And you guys know who you are too. And it's like those bosses just made me go home and beat my head on a wall every night until I finally beat my head enough to realize I'm not built to be here.
Yeah.
I know that I can do better. And I forced it to happen. God made it happen. I was just simply implementing and paying attention to the opportunities that were given.
Man. And look how it worked out. I mean, couldn't have worked out any better. So one of the last questions I love asking is, if pretend that the mayor came to you, and I know you're in Markle, let's say Markle, the in-between, and Fort Wayne. So let's say that the mayor of Fort Wayne and Markle came to you and said, you are commissioned to build a sign that's going to say something that the entire community, everyone from Fort Wayne to Markle, it's going to be so high and so big that you look up and you'll see it. And the phrase is going to be what?
Make gluten great again.
You were right on it.
That would have to be it.
And that's very punny. That is a t-shirt, right? That is
As one of my t-shirts, but it's so true. Like that is my motto, making gluten great again.
Because people be hating on some gluten.
Gluten isn't the problem. There are people with allergies. I completely see you. It's amazing how many times gluten isn't the problem. Gluten is the poor baby that got thrown out with the bathwater.
We're trying to resurrect her.
I'm going to bring you all back into the fold, kicking and screaming.
Make it great again. That I love it. Make gluten great again. Give it a shot. Give it one more try if you
Make gluten great
campaigning
again.
for
one loaf at a time.
one loaf, one croissant at a time. Yes. So, all right, every Saturday 9 to 1. Can you also then give us the details of either social media? How can someone get a hold of you if they want even to make sure they have a special order of certain bread or a number of croissants and they want to get a hold of you?
Absolutely. So Facebook and Instagram, The Bread Guy LLC. Don't forget the LLC or you're going to get some dude up in Michigan.
Okay, good to know.
Bless his heart. He's not us.
Yeah.
Then also my website is thebreadguyllc.com.
Okay.
Plain simple. No frills there.
Yeah.
And then we're at the Wild and I Farmers Market, obviously. I've got my shop in Markle. Tuesdays through Wednesdays through Saturdays.
Okay.
And we are also working on getting enrolled into Market Wagon as well.
Okay.
And so that's going to open up some avenues as well for the people that they couldn't get out to the market or to the shop, or they just can't quite leave the house and they just need to get some ordered in. Then that is going to be an option
Wow.
here soon as well.
That can be huge.
Absolutely.
Very cool. So stay tuned. Catch Zach, catch the bread guy every Saturday, 9 to 1. And those are all the opportunities you have for the cinnamon. What am I?
It's a cinnamon swirl challah.
Okay, man.
The best French toast you could ever make right there.
Gosh. Yeah. So freaking good.
Come
And
for the cinnamon sugar challah. Come for the punny shirts. You might even get lucky and see me a giant purple noodle man.
yes, that is awesome. Thank you guys, and we will see you at the market. This podcast is brought to you by Coraggio Media. The show is edited by me and sponsored by the Weil and I Farmers Market. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram for all the latest updates. We will see you next week, where we will be sure to show you how you can enjoy Fort Wayne.